Hi everyone, I'm Miss Kristin and I'm a children's librarian at Dorchester Road Regional Library. Thank you for joining me today. For today's program, I will be introducing you to artist Henri Matisse. We'll be reading a book about a specific style of art that he uses, and I'll be showing you how to make some Matisse-inspired art of your own. The book that I'm reading is called Matisses Scissors, and it is by Jeanette Winter, and I'm reading it with permission from Simon & Schuster Publishing. Henri's Scissors. In a small weaving town in France, a young boy named Henri Emile Benoit Matisse watched his mother paint china. He wanted to paint china too. He drew pictures in the sand, and he drew pictures in his school books. When Henri was a young man, he drew pictures in his law books and on contracts, deeds, and wills. Henri was sick in bed with appendicitis one winter. His mother gave him a box of paints, and he painted until he was well. He kept on painting, forgot about law, and left his small town to be an artist in Paris. Henri painted pictures day after day and year after year. He was happy, and his paintings made people happy. But when Matisse was an old man, he fell ill. So ill, he couldn't paint. So ill, he couldn't sit up. So ill, he could only lie in bed and sleep. His paintings floated by in his dreams. Matisse finally opened his eyes, and they were filled with sadness. Now he must remain in bed or use a wheelchair. Would he ever have the energy to paint again? When Matisse was strong enough to travel, he went to the seaside. The sea air might help him get well. Before long, he sat up. A little later, he drew. Then one day, Matisse picked up a pair of scissors and cut out shapes from painted paper. He was drawing with scissors. A pair of scissors is a wonderful instrument. Matisse cut paper all day. My pleasure in cutting things out grows even greater. Why didn't I think of it earlier? His assistants painted paper for him all day. It seems to me that I am in a second life. Paper cutouts covered his walls. One evening, Matisse lay in bed and drew the faces of his grandchildren on the ceiling with a piece of chalk tied to a long pole. As he fell asleep, they looked down on him and saw his dreams. They saw the shapes that surrounded him in sleep. As time went on, Matisse cut bigger and bigger shapes. They filled his seaside room with color. You see, as I am obliged to remain often in bed, I have made a little garden all around me, where I can walk. There are leaves, fruits, a bird. I am deeply, contentedly happy. Then one night, Matisse walked out into his paper garden, and the rainbow of shapes cradled the old artist and carried him into the heavens. Are some of the stars we see at night coming to us from Henri's scissors? Perhaps. The end. So the style of art that Henri uses later in life with scissors is usually called cutout art. I really like the shapes that he uses, and I think it's an interesting way to make art at home with materials that you already have and in a unique way. So looking back at some of the pages, we can look at some of the shapes that he uses. These look a little bit like leaves. And if you look at this light blue one right here, it looks a little bit like a bird. And all the shapes are a little bit different. He uses a lot of different colors, and sometimes he even uses the leftover paper from shapes that he's cut out. This is only one of the books that CCPL has on this artist and this style of art. There are a few other ones if you want to read more. Another book that I really enjoy that talks about the cutout style of his art is called Matisses Garden. It includes reproductions of his artwork, and it is by Samantha Friedman, and the illustrations are by Kristin Amadio. And this is a Museum of Modern Art book. So I won't be reading this one to you, but I'm just going to show you some of the pictures. You can see how he was able to use some simple shapes to create works of art. Another book about Matisse. This one is more about his painting than cutout art, but it is called The Iridescence of Birds by Patricia McLachlan, pictures by Hadley Hooper. And the last book I'm recommending is Mr. Matisse and His Cutouts. This one is also talking about that cutout style to his art. Don't mind my cat who just decided to visit. I think she's leaving. And this one is by Anne-Marie Van Haringen. I think my cat just left. And this one uses more of a paint style, which is interesting. The art's a little different in this one, but it does talk about this cutout style. So if you really like scissors, I know some of our Dorchester Road Regional regulars at Storytime in the past really enjoy cutting things out, then this is a really fun activity for you. So all you have to do is decide what kind of picture you want to make. I decided I wanted to make an underwater picture. So I've got a blue piece of paper, and this will be my background that all of my cutouts get glued onto. So you'll need some paper. You'll need some scissors and whatever type of glue you like, either a glue stick or just regular old school glue, and then a pencil or something to draw with if you want that. I like to draw my shapes first and then cut them out so I kind of know what it's going to look like, but you don't have to. You can just pick up your scissors and start cutting and make whatever shapes you want. So I'm going to show you some examples of the types of shapes I drew, to try to do a little bit of Matisse style art. So these are just supposed to be kind of like underwater plants or fish, but he has a lot of different subjects in his art, not just a garden, but he even has art that includes cats or birds. He has one piece of cutout art that has a horse in it. So there's no wrong way to do it. You just get your shapes and you start cutting. Or if you want to just start with scissors, you don't need to use a pencil at all. You can just cut out your shapes straight from the paper. And I'm using paper that is already colored. This is just construction paper. But if you really want to make your art like Matisse, you can use plain paper and paint it yourself. But it seems like a lot of hard work. and paint can take some time to dry, so I'm just using the construction paper. So I'm gonna get my shapes all cut out. Why don't you go ahead and make your shapes too? And then we can put our pictures together. So I am going to go ahead and start gluing down some of the shapes that I've made so far. So this is my little underwater plant. It looks a little bit like coral. My little fish. Got a little more coral. And then just a little circle. And I've got my background. So I'm just using a glue stick. I'm gonna go ahead and glue down my shapes. And if you're ready, you can glue down your shapes too. So have you finished your picture? This is what mine looks like. I layered my two pieces on top of each other, which I think looks really cool. It looks like it's two colors now when it's really two different pieces. Got my little fish hanging out over there. And that is how you do cutout art, just like Matisse. I hope that you learned a little bit about Matisse in this video, and I hope that you're inspired to make some art at home and maybe learn about other types of artists that are out there. If you do make your own little cutout art, we'd love to see it. If you want to post it in the comments on this video, I would love to see what you make with your own style of cutout art. And I hope you keep making things and you keep reading and learning new things. And I hope to see you during our next virtual program. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.